Let's stay with this particular story and bring in CONTRALESA's General Secretary, Zolani Mkiva. Thank you so much for your time. Good evening to you. And perhaps just firstly, CONTRALESA's reaction to, the numbers that we are seeing, which are quite staggering.
Well, it's quite disturbing. Good evening to you. It's actually very shocking, and as an organization, we are actually saddened by this because indeed it has become a disaster, and it ought to be declared as such because there is no ritual which is meant for goodness and which is meant for progression in society that then turns around and kill its own children. This ritual is designed to prepare young men for leadership, for responsibility, for rectitude, for tenacity to be able to handle community issues. Now that it is found wanting in the sense that it begins to kill people, and we have to get to the bottom of it because the causality is not actually the ritual. The causality is the opportunists who set up the bogus initiation schools. As you are putting across your presentation there, drawing that diagram, clearly 58 illegal initiation schools are part and parcel of human trafficking, people who want to make money at the expense of the young lives of our children. That's one. The second part is the loophole in the law, which is caused mainly by interference and politicization of what needs to happen and what actually happens when we implement the seasons. We have always, as an institution of traditional leadership, been very clinical in terms of conducting this ritual and ensuring that there is zero death and zero fatality when this happens. But I think in the last 30 years, it has been a test case because this political interference started to creep in by taking away the powers which naturally reside within the institution of traditional leaders, and they got placed elsewhere. And that on its own is a creation of a loophole by these louts and thugs who see this opportunity and look at that gap and enter that gap and then begin to set up this bogus initiation school. So our reaction goes back to say that we ought to ensure that the preparation for the seasons is not something that is done on the eve of the initiation period, but actually we should have a permanent setup, permanent plans, permanent annual operational plan, backed by resources and backed by budgets, so that we don't have this ad hoc situation, which is like a knee-jerk reaction.
So,
yes.
Pardon me, when it comes into the issue of oversight, because I'm listening to what you're saying about the administration and all of that, what then becomes, for example, in your view, the role that CONTRALESA can play when it comes to oversight? Because we talk about this year in, year out, children, dying, and as you say, bogus initiation schools also now coming to the fore, and yes, law enforcement saying that it's moving in, but from an oversight perspective, what do you do? And while you answer that, please answer it coupling with the role of parents here, because when we had the Minister of COCTA last week, he told us that he puts the blame on parents as well, who are not doing due diligence as far as the bogus schools are concerned.
Well, it's not just only the case of oversight as well as monitoring, as an example. We should look at the whole value chain, and the preparation starts at a family level. So there is a role for parents here. The parents ought to ensure that they enroll their children in a credible school, authorized school by the institution of traditional leadership, because the institution has a footprint in each and every locality where initiation ought to happen. Of course, we conscientize the parents through public education, through community meetings, and emphasize this point that they ought to follow all the basic steps that needs to be followed, including medical checkups prior to the enrollment of the children. The families are aware of that, but we cannot lay the blame squarely to all the parents. There are parents that are very responsible that do this. But remember that when you're introducing the subject, you also referred to abductions. It means that children are abducted behind the backs of their own parents. And actually, as CONTRALESA, we get calls from time to time from people who complain that their children are adopted, and then we would then make means and ways to make interventions so that we can release those children. So I'm saying, therefore, that there has to be a plan, and that plan must talk to oversight, monitoring, security, and every medical reaction that we might have if there are emergencies. So it should not just be an issue of oversight.
Yeah.
It's a whole value chain. And we have been calling as CONTRALESA that the initiation rituals must be institutionalized in the country. And that institutionalization will help us to ensure that everything that gets done is professionalized and there are plans in place, there's budget in place, and there's security in place, and there's a official and efficient coordination of what has to happen, and standardization and uniformity, if you like, as well, of what has to occur in each and every province.
Yeah.
The manner in which this thing is being done is ad hoc, and you can't employ an ad hoc strategy in something that involves hundreds of thousands of children that have to be checked in.
So, Dr. Mkiva,
we need that support as an institution.
And where you are headed is where I'd like to take you next before I let you go. We're asking our viewers tonight as to what do they believe needs to be done to try and address this. And I'm keen to hear your thoughts on this one. So let's perhaps take some of the comments there from our viewers. Mutlatsi is saying, why can't the male health workers from clinics or hospitals accompany them during that time to safeguard any situations that may result to death? Somehow, this initiation schools must work with Department of Health to decrease unnecessary deaths. That is Mutlatsi there. All right, let's
we don't want death.
Hold on a sec, Dr. Mkiva. I just want to see if we've got another one. Bongani is saying, go back to the basics, do what was done before, because there were 0 deaths. There is no need for medical practitioners. And I'm wondering if we do have another one. That's Bongani Mkubela there. And McDonald saying, do as the rich do the op in hospital, heal, go to the retreat for traditional rights and teachings on what it means to be a man. Dr. Mkiva, how do you respond?
Well, our position is quite clear that we are working with the Department of Cooperative, we're working with the Department of Health, we're working with the Department of Police, but the coordination is not firm. There has to be one center that really runs the initiation seasons in the country, and that has to be the traditional authorities of the country, supported by these departments. So we agree that we can't be stuck in primitivism. Where it needs be, we are prepared to open up and bring in medical practitioners who have themselves gone through the practice, because that's a sensitive area. Remember, this ritual is sacred, and therefore you can't just bring people who have not gone through the process. The life of the children is primary. We can't compromise children simply because we say we are traditionalists. We have to give and take in terms of ensuring that we bring in these practitioners, because we are handling big numbers, and obviously we are acknowledging that we have a problem. And therefore, when you have a problem, you can't dig your sand, your head into the sand.
Yeah.
We are therefore already, it's not something that is about to start now in 2026. Already we have been working with medical practitioners who have gone through, and we bring them in to assist so that whenever we have a problem, we have a solution, you know, to prevent that. So yes, we are saying modernity and tradition are two sides of the same coin. People must not just be conservative to the extent that they are prepared to compromise the life of the children. CONTRALESA does not encourage that, and we call upon the law enforcement agencies to hunt down everybody who has been found to have breached or broken the laws, and that has caused this calamity which we are faced with as a nation.
Appreciate your time. Thank you for speaking to us. That's CONTRALESA's General Secretary Zolani Mkiva.